Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome to the Deceptilab, and welcome to my weekly live stream. And today we're going to talk about actually we're going to talk about the next two events a little bit. So we'll get into that. A lot of good stuff going on right now, I think, in the game. So we'll talk about that. And I want to look at a bot that I didn't think that I was going to really like that much, but I kind of just discovered them over the weekend, and I just started pushing them really hard. So we'll look at him. Um, those of you in the chat, some of you already know. If you already know, don't say anything. But for the rest of you guys, um, take a guess. Take a guess at who you think I discovered this week. I'll give you a hint. It's a warrior class spot. So yeah, if you got a guess, let me know in the chat. Um, and I had a request to talk about some of my favorite bots for like the current times, the current meta and stuff like that. And I was gonna break it down into a video series, but I said I might touch on that a little bit and then end with that one warrior that I was talking about, because I think the warrior class is looking pretty sexy right now. I'm gonna be honest with you, so we'll talk about that a little bit too. But before we get into any of that, let's get into the newsletter. All right, so this week's event is called New Order, and it is going to be a really short event. It's 10K, and you're going to get typical prizes you get. 2.5K a 4-star, 7.5K a 3-star shards, 30K premiums, War for Cybertron skin cool, 5 of the 500K troop XP items, 200K spark, 20 million alloy, 20 million energon. So, still giving pretty good payout for a really short event. And I'll tell you some background for myself as far as I'm concerned on this. So in the United States, it's Memorial Day weekend this weekend. Me personally, I work tomorrow. I got the next 4 days off after that. And so in the past, when it was Memorial Day weekend, I talked to the apes and I said, hey, you know, just keep in mind it's a holiday weekend here in the States. And technically, Memorial Day is observed on Monday here. Um, so last year, I think the year before that, I was like, hey man, like there was like I think it was like a 1.5 mil event or something like that. And I said to the apes, I said, hey man, you might want to move that around a little bit because with you having a large base of American players, that most of these guys are going to be really busy. It's like the unofficial start of summer also. So, people start doing things. Everybody's kids out of school, stuff like that. And they said, well, technically it's on Monday. We're not changing it. And they ran the larger event, which, was cool. I went out there, he got with my team, we completed it and everything like that. But this year it's shorter. We just had endurance last week. Everything just lined up really well. Typical prize charts, nothing crazy. But then we got next week's event. And so next week's event is going to be a 2 million point event. Um, and the apes have been listening to a little bit of feedback that they've been hearing from the community. And so it's a couple of different things they started looking at. And so one of the things, if you can look at the price chart there, you'll see that it's going to be 20 prestiges. What they're trying to eliminate is a lot of times with these larger events, you gain so much at one time that they don't want you to just keep tapping and tapping and tapping and try to go from one battle to the next because you earned so many prizes and your teammates had battles too. And um, it is good for quality of life. I do think that it might spread the prizes a little bit too far, but we'll play that event next weekend and see how it goes. I know in my Alliance family, we just started bidding for the event um, today, but it's going to be lit. It's going to be 8,000 Prime Core shards. So that means if you finish, you're guaranteed to get one of the new defensive Prime Cores if that's what you're after. You're going to get 2,000 5-star combat shards if you complete, 5,000 4-star, 15K of the 3-star, 50k of the premium shards, 200 premium combat chips, 300,000, excuse me, a spark, combiner spark, and combat spark. I haven't seen too many events like this where they give you the trifecta of spark, combat, and the combiner spark. So that's really, really good. And then you're going to have some random power core chips. So definitely looks like a really, really good event. I'm still debating on whether I want to go for completion or if I want to go for like 1 mil plus. Um, we'll see. I do want to go get a new combat, and right now the combat that I'm looking for is I'm looking for Baru, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Typical battle zones for that one. Then we got some game updates and information. And so the combat bots for this upcoming saga are going to be for Star Saber and Deathsaurus. So for Star Saber, you're going to have Victory Leo. And I got to say, I like the concept art for these guys so far. You know, they got a little bit of the description for both of them as far as just their personalities and stuff like that. Tiger Chest is going to be the combat for Deathsaurus. And then from a concept standpoint, they look really, really good. I'm really waiting to see what they look like in testing, just because, and we hadn't started testing yet, but the question has been, you know, I told you the play testers, most of us said that we didn't like that 5-star Deathsaurus and Star Saber that much. And the apes would say, hey, more good things are coming. And this is the first step in those good things coming for Deathsaurus. I can't wait to see what they do. I think it's probably going to be awesome. But you know what? I've been telling you, I was talking with some of the other playtesters a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, man, maybe I'm too optimistic at times, but I think this might actually be fire. You know, not literal, not in the literal sense. I think it's going to be awesome. So, can't wait to test it and see it out. Especially with a bot like Deathsaurus and Star Saber, man, they're really expensive. So if I can find a way to make them useful on the just from the combat side, who knows? I'm going into that batch. Maybe that'll be a bot that I push. We'll see. Cyberpass Season 16. Can't believe it's been that long. We had, you know, so many Cyberpasses now, but the skins that we're going to be going for are going to be G2 Slingshot. That looks really cool. And they got G2 Hook, which honestly, man, I'm feeling that. And the reason why I'm feeling that is because when I was a kid, um, I had started going and just picking up all the different pieces for Devastator. And I had all of these pieces. I had all the other pieces. And the only one I couldn't find was Hook. And when my uncle wound up finding Hook, but he wound up finding G2 Hook. So he had this color scheme. So I had all the rest of them as a G1 green Constructicons, and I had this G2 Hook. But I was just happy to complete it. So I wound up putting together all of these pieces with G2 Hook. And I had like, you know, for then, you know, in the actual toy, it was darker than that. It was like orange, but yeah, man, like so that's always gonna hold personally. That's always gonna hold a place to my heart. I'll definitely equip him. Hook is my healer on my war team, so I'll definitely be equipping that skin when I get the Cyber Pass. So yeah, this is my first time taking a look at the actual Cyber Pass chart. Let's see, and I'm trying to see if okay, that's what I needed. I needed a combiner. I needed a combiner skip. So my Galvatronus, you know, is in the cooker for level 24. You know, that's my ace. Um, have you guys watched when I was talking about on Sunstreak Waza? I said he was the best one in the game, Galvatronus and Skyrim. So I got him in the cooker right now for level 24. Um, this right here is going to make sure that I get him to level 25 once I got the combiner spark for it. And then I'm probably just going to hoard for whenever we get since we now have Scylla and Ariel from the event, from the endurance event, I'm probably gonna wait until God Neptune comes out and start working on him. Um, so yeah, we'll see how that goes. But I'm definitely glad that that's in there. And as always, I'm happy about all the other goodies that come as a part of that. Sunstreaker was in the chat, and he's like, he doubts. He's talking, going back to the conversation about the new combats. He's like, he doubts that Deathsaurus and Star Saber are going to be awesome. We'll see. We'll see. I hope that it is awesome. And then there's still going to be, I believe, I know it's going to be G1. I believe Ability 11 and G1 on the way too. So hopefully, with a combination of all those things, he's awesome again. And he's the bot that we loved, a year or two ago. So yeah. Squad slots. So in December, the Apes promise is going to be more squad slots. It's going from 14 to 16. So, and that helps, man, because I know a lot of times I'll stick my raid team in like the last slot, or anybody on power leveling in the last slot. So now I can kind of get away from that. So a nice quality of life change there. Just another reminder underneath that the Transformers Earth Wars, they got a Reddit page now. I went up there and subscribed last week. If you go in there, and they got like a little introductory Reddit post in there, you can go into a drawing to win 5-star shards, 500 of them, and there's going to be 3 winners. So there's a link for that in the newsletter. All right, let's see. As always, check out your content creators, both official and unofficial. Your official ones, Engineer Hoist, myself, Soldier, and Sunstreaker Waza. And then the community corner, we got some nice artwork in there. Moon Racer, that's pretty cool. And we got Optimus. Yeah, nice job. All right, for bug fixes, like they already mentioned, squad slots are going to be going to 16. They are finally fixing Sidetrack and Growl, how they stay on the battlefield while the combiners are deployed. Never was supposed to be like that. They're finally getting around to fix that. Last week they had some, or the week before last, I believe it was, they had some issues when they were adjusting Nightstick and Fracas. They were trying to do some testing for some of the bots that throw out grenades for their G1. So you're talking about like bots like Full Tilt and Brawn. That caused a huge headache the week before last during that individual event, but they reverted that back. They just wanted to remind you that they did revert it back to its normal configuration. Ariel, Scylla, they hit the 2-star by accident. For all you collectors out there, that's going to be resolved. The content push tomorrow. And then they'll hit us up earlier in the week and said that there's going to be an acid Crimzy. He asked us for other ideas. He caught me at the wrong time because I was like, I didn't have any good ideas for stuff that we could add at the time. But I am looking forward to that acid Crimzy. I think it's a little bit overdue since the acid meta has started. So we'll see how that goes as well. And then Space Ape will be on their live stream on Thursday, the 8th of June. And that is it for the news for this week. All right, so let's take a look at who we got in the chat. And let's see, we got my teammate Lord Avix in there is the first one, and he wants to remind you guys that he was first again. My good friend Chris Harmon, legend himself, Sunstreaker Waza. Let's see, my playtest buddy Venger Prime is in here. Kujias is in here. Thanks for joining. Sir Soundwave 1590, Alpha Tryon 1, and let's see, one of my moderators, Foxter Bomb, just joined. Thanks for joining, and thanks for helping me out with moderating the chat. Let's see, and then LJ Gav is in there as well. You know, another good friend of mine. So, you know, all you guys welcome, and we are gonna head over to the battlefield. And right now we are on the test server, and I want to talk about well, really a couple of things. I want to talk about a discovery that I made this week, and I want a change that I'm making to my war team. And so, right now, this is what I got on my war team, and the bot that I actually added Bludgeon, and here's why. Like Bludgeon is going to be, and I think that's Ironhide for you guys on the Autobot side. I added him, and I started thinking, and really, this is what took me here. So I was trying to find a way that my impactor. I'm gonna go back to the team for a second. I was trying to find a way for my impactor and my Quellagon to coexist really. And the thing is like with Quellagon, everybody's like, "Hey man, you should use your Amalgamous Prime Core, right? Because he's got a 20-second ability." I get it. I've been preaching the same thing for a while. But then when I looked at Impactor, I said to myself, man, like he really lasts a long time if you use his ability. He really lasts a long time. It, with the Amalgamous Prime Core, and he's got that damage reduction. People will slowly start not using the Force Field Disruptor as much. So I actually moved this Amalgamous Prime Core back to him, and so I started digging a little bit deeper, and I started looking at Quellagon. And what I said was, what really bothers me the most for him is his damage per second. It's decent, but of course you're doubling that damage when you use his ability. So I actually wound up moving Alchemist Prime to him, and I said, well, if I move Alchemist Prime to him, what I'm gonna do is I want to boost up his damage even more, so that'll boost up his healing even more. And I was just playing around, just trying to see how that worked. So another one of my teammates just joined Reason to Live. Thanks for joining, man. So that's where I was at. And then I said, well, then I started thinking about everything else that irritated me about my team, right? And so, because I was telling Dale this a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week ago. I was like, man, I hate my team now. I'm all focused on acid. And normally, what I would do is I'd use blot. And don't get me wrong, I still love blot. You still get an opportunity to pop outposts really easily. But I was like, man, like this is around where I'm at on the live server also. And I said to myself, man, like I'm getting this dude killed a lot of times. I put double cross on him. I tried the Fangtron thing or whatever, and he wasn't out front far enough for me. And I said to myself, you know what? I'm gonna try something different. So here's what I thought about. I went to all my warrior class spots and I said, well, what do I have? And so for me, I don't have half of this stuff that I got up here on the test server, right? What I had was Tantrum. And even though they're not using FFD as much, I said what I was looking for is a way that, because I have been saying for a while, I like to try to go add as much healing to my team as possible. And I said, man, a lot of these rush in warriors, they got that extra 80%. But then I started looking at this dude. I started looking at Headstrong, and I said, man, I'm not going back into that batch and fighting and fighting and fighting and try to go get Headstrong. I went through that with Tantrum, and it really just pissed me off, man, because I said I got him, and then immediately afterwards, like I told you guys before, FFD came out. So what I did, I said, well, I went through the whole batch with the exception of who did I not get from that batch? I didn't get Runabout from that batch. And so I said to myself, well, I already got a tank that's when I had that 80% boost. I said I probably can keep them upright. And then what I said I was going to do, as I said, I already got my acid bots. I got acid storm. I got knockout. And then what really pissed me off is as I was looking around and I said, well, knockout's duration is longer. And I said, well, why don't I do something to try to couple that together? So I wound up using Megatronus. And I said, well, all right, well, 45%. of your damage, from a maxed out Megatron's core. But look at Bludgeon's damage. So when I use this 5-star Baru, he goes up to 714.7. When you look at his rank, that's with him as a private. So I said to myself, self, maybe you should have him on your war team. And so I leveled him up on the test server. Now he's not maxed out on my live account. He's in like his 50s right now. But I started doing some tests just to see what it would look like. And when I look at his damage, I mean, impacted that I got up here is at like 795. This dude is it like, what would I say, 714? So I said, let's try it. I said, let's try it out. And so what I did, I came to the test server and I started running test after test after test, just like I would do in war. So I'm gonna go in and do it just like I would do in war. I'm gonna bring my Galvatronus in. We'll go into the prime zone. One of my family mates, Spec, just joined. Thanks for joining. And he said, give me some thumbs up. give me some likes. All right, so let's see what I got here. So we'll see, and I just really want to test this out. So here I'm gonna use. Damn, I still got stuck. All right, so I was trying to go get that FFD there with blast off, but that didn't work because I still ran into the mine there. And I'm really just waiting for the right time. Yeah, I messed that totally up. So Sky rains out. But what I wanted to do is to say I believe you gotta have one outpost popper for every battle. And so what I started doing is I started using bludgeon. Now one of my concerns is a lot of people just abandon the rush in tank. But it's a couple of things that you're getting out of this bot. So you're getting your stun. You can pop outposts with them. And with that 80% max health boost, you can make them very, very sturdy. And he's relatively cheap. He's not as cheap as Headstrong, but he is really cheap. So that's what I started focusing on. And so far it's working. It's not working for me right now, but it worked for me when I was testing them out. So let's see what happens. And I actually can't see his icon because my camera's behind it. But I'll bring him down a little bit. And with that Megatronus, what I can do is I can actually combo him up with say I use Knockout's ability, and I can actually tear some stuff up a little bit faster. So I'll actually try that on a base trial here in a minute and see how that goes. But and it's funny because my friend Matt Rambler, he had been saying for a while like he's a really, really huge like bludgeon fan. And I was like, nah man, you crazy. Like I'm not using that. But then I saw that damage and then I said, and I was kind of following the concept that what they were doing, like a lot of players were doing with pipes and headstrong. And I said, you know what, I can try something like that. But I just messed up my execution on this one, so I'm gonna go ahead and back out. All right, so let's see. Let's go into a base trial, and I just want to run some tests just to see what this looks like with that Megatronus core. Like I said, I've been working on Megatronus core for a little bit, just using it on different warriors and stuff like that. So I just want to take a look and see what it does. See how it does when I combo it up with some of these other with these acid abilities and get that additional 20%. All right, so we'll just for comparison's sake, let's take a look at bludgeoning. He's already got pretty good damage for a warrior. I mean, like you get him in like 714 as a warrior class bot. Man, that's pretty good. And that's with the Megatronus core by itself. Takes a little bit of time. Can maneuver him around a little bit. You know, nothing too crazy, but still really, really good. Now let's back out and let's try it again with the acid ability. If I can actually retreat. Sunstreaker was is advocating for a bulkhead breakdown prime for the 5-star. Hey man, I ain't got a problem with that. I would love that actually. Honestly, when we first started testing him, I was like, man, that dude's pretty good. I said I like him, but I think most players they're gonna want they don't want to start working on the 4-star and then abandon them later on. So you just like, yeah, you know, if you make him a 5-star, I'd go for him. But I think the rush tank is starting to become back in style. And in this case, like I didn't even use him to his full ability because I didn't get rid of this build bot here that has the FFD on it. So I come back down, I'll drop him. I'll drop Acid Storm there. And I just try to get a little bit more out of that Megatronus effect. Now, one thing I will say, and one reason why people started really messing with Headstrong and pipes like that, is because those guys have they have acid already. So you use Megatronus on them. It's a naturally occurring combo, and this is one of the things that I've been saying for a while now. Those naturally occurring combos are really, really awesome. So because like you're only using the ability once, you're saving a bunch of ability points. That's what really makes that work. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to try it right now because when I was testing, I did actually go test out Headstrong to try to use the same concept. But one thing that I like about Bludgeon is this. I think at this point we all can agree that the electrical meta is coming. And so I think he can be a really huge piece for that as well. So when it does come, I'll already have a plan in place. And I think that's going to be cool. So I'll use the exact same setup. We'll take a look at his stats. We'll see what he does. Jet Prime just joined and he says, which community manager is leaving? I actually didn't hear anything about that. Maybe I was, I've been busy the last couple of days. Maybe I missed something. Yeah, and to your point, to your point, Chris. Yeah, like Wazzle's using pipes right now, and I remember, and I actually gave everybody a hard time about it, like in the playtest chat that we get online app. I was like, look, man, do you guys remember when nobody wanted to use Headstrong and pipes? Nobody wanted to pull them out of that batch, and I was like, Pepperidge Farms remembers, and we all had a laugh about that. But I was like, yeah, it's true. I was like, once the acid meta started, and they said, well, here's a way that we can go in there and you can go kill Here's a way that you can go kill some of this stuff. Man, and then say Avenger Prime, who's actually out here, who's actually in the chat. I'm in his on his base right now. He usually gives me a hard time. Let's see how it goes. And I don't think I got all my power cores that I was supposed to have either. That's it. I've been changing them around so much today I forgot. But he usually whoops me anyway, so we'll see what happens. I'm gonna try. And one thing I always got to emphasize when I look at some of these pairings is that you don't have to use the full length of that rush tank. You don't got to use the full length of his ability. Sometimes I'll run them really short, and all I'll do is just put them just far enough in front of the team so that they can come behind them and let that tank be a tank. And one of the reasons I love Galvatronus is I like to just go get those walls. I like to get those walls down. And so that becomes a little bit of my focal point. This is going to be a lot to deal with at the end of this thing because I kind of panicked a little bit, but we'll see how it turns out. Because I'm still going to leave a lot of outposts open. And I already lost a healer and some other stuff, so. And I already lost Headstrong, so that didn't really help. And what really messed me up too, man, is because like I had to actually move I had to move my alchemist core off a knockout, and I went with his G1 core. I'm still experimenting around a little bit, but I probably need to go back and make sure my core placement is the way that I want it to be, because I lost like everybody. So good job, Venger, on knocking me out of there. And Trap just joined the chat. Thanks for joining. You know, probably my best friend in the game. I need to go back in there and make sure that I look at all my. I didn't make sure I got all my power cores and stuff because I know when we were going through, I didn't put anything, any combat on Quellagon or any of those guys. So let's look at that real quick. Benja says I got it next time. Yeah, it doesn't help when. Okay, I did put Baru on him. It does. Yeah, it just doesn't help, man. Like I hate playing on this mouse, but it's so much better for my streams to do it that way. So yeah, I did knockout and fracas for hook. All right, I got my Nexus Prime. Got Acid Storm. So I did Quintessence for him. And I need to go stick. I'll stick Vertebrate back on him. All right, let's see what I can do this time. Like I said, it's one of those things I'm trying to get used to it. I ran it a couple of times in the last wars, but we kept getting like easier wars. I want to get like a really, really tough war and see what I can do. And see, this would be the one situation where I would really, really like to have where I would really like to have a blot, because this is the base I usually use them on because I can get them to go up the side wall. Yeah, and he got Swoop up there tearing stuff up. I ain't gonna let him keep getting killed like that, so I'll just go ahead and bring the combiner out. And my goal here will be to try to use Nemesis Prime to take care of the rest of it. Unfortunately, that means I'm going to eat the hack there from Computron. All right. So yeah, not too bad. Got him down. I just gotta get enough points for when I get to the top so that I can use Nemesis. That should be alright. Oh man, and I just used an ability by accident. I need 2 more points. Because I said, yeah, there he goes. There goes Twin Twist. He's going to do some damage here. I know it because I accidentally used those points I conserved for Nemesis. Man, that sucks. Yeah, and that's where I messed up at. Like, bad. But it's all good. Like I said, this is a work in progress. But cool. Yeah, and that's a good point. Waza said I should use a Titan on a 3-point building. And yeah, I probably should have did that, but Spec says I gotta go fast. Man, look, I'm not that great trying to go do all this on a mouse. Like if I do this on my phone, I'm like much faster with this stuff. But it's all good. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go through different classes of bots, and I want to look at the ones that I actually really like a lot. So I just start from the top. I'll start with the air class ones. Um, so in the current meta, like I like Acid Storm a lot, just because he's got really really good damage. Right now, I've got Quintus and Singe on him, and I always catch heat for it. But sometimes I just go up there and I'll go swap like Fracus onto him. Just depends on what it is that I'm doing with my team. Um, but it's either way, like it's a bunch of ground damage, and he's got acid and anti heal. So you can see he's still sitting up there with that in that 13.9 area. So I would probably pair that a little bit differently. I take Quintus off, and I'd say honestly, I like using Primal now on with Fracus Nightstick. But as far as air class goes, I like him. really like SG Thundercracker a lot. Let's see, let's get him loaded up because what I've seen a lot of people starting to do now is they'll use him. They'll use him, and they'll actually use Skyhawk, who's another one of the guys that I really like in this meta a lot. So I'll give him that enhanced ordnance. Uh, I'll actually give him Fracas for a second. And though Singe actually works pretty well with him too. And we'll check out his stats. All right, so yeah, 13, 13 and a half, not bad. And now I'll actually move. Let's try Skyhawk with Primal. Just because for him, I don't really see like a lot of cores that I say, hey, I'm getting a big deal out of them, but I do like that ice explosion. And so what a lot of people will do is they'll actually pair them together, and they'll make that into something that's really really effective against. And I'll just do it for demonstration purposes. I'll go back into that prime zone. And hopefully I get something that's front loaded so you can actually see a lot of people are using that against those shield clusters, getting them to kind of tear things up, and it works. Yeah, Wazo was saying it's a little bit difficult at first when you're trying to use the mouse, but he said you don't fat finger a lot of stuff as much. I actually started to get that down to a science on the phone. And I've been practicing on this thing too, man. It just doesn't work out the way that I want it to do when I work on a mouse. And I actually, and it's gonna sound really dorky, but I was like, some of my friends had tried to get me to start playing World of Warcraft, and so I was like, yeah, I'll try it. And then I can't play that either with a mouse, and I got like an actual good mouse for that. But yeah, that second go that I just did with those abilities, that's what a lot of guys I know are starting to do. They're starting to find things, these buildings that are really clustered up, and using those two. They're using those two sets of guys together. And honestly, the more I see it, the more I like it. So those out of the air class bots, those are the ones that I really kind of value in this particular meta. Yeah, MD Prime says turn my cursor speed up. Um, so I did that. I think I got it on the second to highest one. Um, I just got to get used to it because when I turn it to the highest one, I wind up going to my second monitor and stuff. So I just have to like just slow my speed down when I'm doing that. As you can see, I'm actually changing cursor speeds as we speak. Let's see. So those would be my picks for those three. And of course, you guys already seen me talk about Slipstream a bunch. I love Slipstream. Um, last stream I think it was I was talking about the Terramander and Slipstream combo. But then you got a whole bunch of options with that. You can use full tilt. You can just run Slipstream short and clear out a lot of stuff early. It's a lot of ways you can go about it. Spec says too dorky for WoW. Shaking my head. Here's a hug. It's just not my thing, man. Like, and the thing is, so we tried two different versions of WoW. So they got like the WoW Classic, and then they got like the World of Warcraft. So we tried that. We tried the Classic. And that's what my coworkers are playing, and I had actually downloaded the newer World of Warcraft, and so I had got used to it, and I kind of liked it. And I was like, man, like I started playing classic, and I said, man, this sucks. So, but that's what they playing, so I'm gonna try it. We'll probably play Friday or something like that. So when I look at Gunners, obviously, I like Knockout. Um, Octo Punch, I need to level him up more on my live account, but I think he's still good. I think when the electrical meta comes, everybody's going to start using more of the anti EMP cores. But Trigger Happy, I like a lot. It's just expensive as hell, man. So, but he gets that job done a lot. I saw a lot of people when that batch came out started using him and Guy Hawk together too, and I thought that was actually I'll actually run that right now. Let me see if I got a volatile mixture in here right now. But then people realize that that's an expensive combo when you can find cheaper ways to execute that same combo. LJ Gav says Wild Classic is say I'm about to get crucified now because now the purists are saying that he said Wild Classic is way better than the new one. Bro, I really like, and the thing is, I like the graphics on the new one. I like the gameplay on the new one. Uh, and I actually went in there just because, like I said, I'm really bad with using the mouse. I actually went in there the first day that I was playing, and I actually figured out how to put a controller onto that one, and it was just like it was actually really really fun. I started leveling up fast, and I think that's what it was. I was leveling up faster in those early phases, and then when I got to work the next day, it's like I downloaded it, and they was like, "Nah, man, we playing classic," and I was like, "Shoot!" So I downloaded classic, and I was like, "Man, I don't really like this." But it's a fun social thing to do, you know what I'm saying? So I was just like, cool, man. I never really had any interest in it. Now, when I was back in the day, I used to play a game called City of Heroes because comic books and all that kind of stuff. That's my thing. And I was just like, man, that was really fun. Like, if I could go back and play that game today, I would go back and play it. But now I play this, so man. The thing is, I don't even play like I was getting real big into playing like Madden and stuff like that and FIFA on the Xbox. Man, I don't even touch my Xbox no more, man. Like my Xbox is right behind me in the lab. I hardly ever play it because I'm always grinding out events and stuff on the weekends, unless my friends ask me to play. Yeah, Trap knew him talking about. He said City of Villains. Yeah, LJ Gaff said they trick you with the fast leveling and the new yeah, I mean, in any game that you play like that you put in a lot of dedication into, it's gonna be a grind. But I was like, all right, man, at least I can start out. And like the thing is, all the guys at work, they only started playing it like seriously, like together, like every weekend. They started playing about a month ago or something like that. But I was just like, all right, yeah, I'll join you. All right, so the healers, I'm not really going to talk about. I said I like all of the healers. Obviously, when you go look at like Flatline and Minerva, they're the best ones they got. Um, Minus the fact that at some point the apes got to give them like an ability 11 and then like a bot specific core. But I like all the healers, even Reflector, because you guys probably heard my story about Reflector before. That was the first one I had. That was the first 4-star I had. That was the first 5-star I had. I used them. I actually started using them the other day because Hook keeps creeping up on me on certain sets, and like I don't like that. Let's see. Fool, and you guys already seen me use Nemesis Prime a bunch. I actually like him a lot for the special class. Impactor, I've been trying to find a way to part ways with him, but Like I can. I was always come back because I can always stick them out front to kind of defend a little bit, and especially now the FFDs aren't as prevalent as they once were. I can use them on more bases more effectively without having to actually target the FFD. Now that I don't use cutthroat as much. Let's see, crankcase I like a lot. Um, I had to see how I want to use him if I actually pull him out of this batch. And even though they make a lot of really strong special class bots, like I kind of moved on from Soundwave. I'm probably not using Deathsaurus. Scavenger, I know a lot of people are using, particularly when they go. A lot of people are using Texas strategy of Rod U and Scavenger together. So or Inferno and Rust Dust together for you Autobots. It's just, man, I just if I had my Rod U built up enough, I probably would use it, and I probably would just combo it up real quick with Knockout. But I would have to get there first. Not saying it's bad, but I just like Scavenger's just not a bot that I like that much. And really, that's about it. That's the ones that I just really, really value. Triple changes. Out of all of these right now, like I see Octone is becoming more popular. I spent years with Astro Train and stuff like that, but it's a little bit too busy in most cases to try to use him for a lot of those a lot of people were using him and Springer for the dead end and cup jumps and stuff like that. It's a little bit tougher to do these days unless you see something that's just really glaring at you. And let's see, Jamie Carpenter asked who was in my team. So right now, my team kind of looks like that. It actually is, with the exception, I got Blot in here right now. I'm trying to work. Uh, I'm trying to work Bludgeon in. He's a little bit too weak, so my team actually looks something like that. But I just keep trying to decide. I keep trying to decide what I want to do with Blast Off because Blast Off has got like good damage, but depending on what combats I put on him, like he has a tendency to try to creep up unless I use Fracus. So I'm trying to build my team around a lot of that healing and stuff. Trust me, I don't struggle nearly as much as I've been struggling today trying to use this mouse. Trap says no love for Blitz. Man, look, I'm just not as proficient with Blitz as you are, man. Like you can make that bot work. And even though like we went through the strategies and stuff like that, trying it, I will say this. So like a lot of people, they were talking about the Blitz and Terramander combo that came about. Ah, that works well, but Blitz works well, period, because you can debuff a lot of the outpost bots and stuff like that, kind of slow them down, and then you do your thing. So, but what I really really like, I really really like warrior class bots, man. Like we were playing with Headstrong a little bit, uh, Quellagon, Twin Twist, I like a lot. I want to use Tantrum, but eh, I shit, I still might when people not using FFD. Scylla, I think, is really, really good. I think she's going to be good. I still occasionally use Ramjet. Dinobot 2 is amazing. Obviously, I use Blot and Bludgeon. Dude, and a lot of those guys are rush in tanks. And that's it. I think if you shorten the distance that you're trying to use them for, they're actually really good. Lord Avic says Blitz is horrible. Spec says Teabag hates Octone and definitely won't talk about him for 30 minutes and post 10 videos in slow motion. Well, Lord Avic says maybe it's his fat fingers that makes him horrible. I mean, and the thing is, it playstyle really does play a big factor and when you're looking at a lot of this stuff, because man, like just one of those things, man. Like everybody's is different. Let me try running this team one more time, man, before I get off the stream, because I was like, man, I said I was killing it earlier this week. Bludgeon. But yeah, man. What do you guys think about the new event schedule? Because honestly, man, so it's a couple of things, and I meant to mention that earlier. So this week, earlier in the week, the apes, well, what's going on right now? It would be the raid. They are saying, "Hey, man, we're gonna take away the raids, and we're gonna make them every 2 weeks." So immediately, when I went on Discord, some of the players who would not totally agree with them, they were saying that we should have the raid, like next week will be a good week to not have the raid, and the reason for that is there's going to be 2 million point event. One of the difficulties that I've seen, and I expressed that on Discord, is that there's event movement going on. Anytime there's event movement going on, if you didn't have to go and wait for raid, then that would be good. But also, I've never once sat down and said to myself, "Hey man, this game sucks because the raids are I got a raid and I hate it." I've never said that, and I actually expressed that in my family group chat earlier in the week. I was just like, and honestly, the apes did something like this last year. Also, they were saying, "Hey, we're gonna take away a raid. Let us know what you think about it." And I think that time they actually made raid on a they made a raid event or something like that. And I just found it really strange. That's like nobody's really complaining about raids. I also think that events events are going to be larger. I mean, I've come to accept that events are going to continue to be large. My issue is this. My issue is that there's so many different game modes, and a lot of people were saying they wanted to get rid of like elimination mode, or I think for elimination mode, all you gotta do is get rid of the fuel cells. And I think if you do that, like, and I'll give you a good example. A lot of times when I go Z farming, like I have to schedule my Z farming now because there's so many different game modes. I'm doing my wars. Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I'm doing my raid. I'm doing all these things. But if I had time on a Sunday, but usually by the time I get done with an event on a Sunday, um, then that's when raid is on this or excuse me, elimination mode is on this little cool down period, and you gotta wait a few hours. So then I don't get to use that either. So I said to myself, well, what if I had that additional time up there on day 3 of the event, or even what if I had, I don't know, if I didn't have cooldowns. So what if every time I went to an event, I could just play elimination mode in between my cooldowns? I'd be okay with that. But I don't think that's going to get any traction. So we'll see how it goes. But all right, guys, thanks for joining the stream. I'm going to go ahead and take off for today. Um, like I said, man, like I'll see you guys next time. And if you didn't already, like, and if you're not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe. But I'll see you next time, and I'll see you on the battlefield. Freezy is out.